Hello, dog people. You have found yourself at the onset of another episode of the Rocker Dog Podcast, the show that talks to musicians about their canine companions. I'm your host, Tim Dill, and stirring under my feet is my dog and inspiration for the podcast, Charlie. And today we are thrilled to be talking to DJ Kilmore, who mans the turntables and keyboards for Incubus, who will be touring the UK in June and the US in July, August, and a few days beyond. And this is his adoring rocker dog.
Okay, this is Blossom. Her birthday is the end of April. She'll be 3. And she is one of many Dobermans that I've had in my lifetime. I grew up with Dobermans, and I have an affinity for Dobermans. And they definitely don't live up to their fearsome reputation.
Well, I want to get into all of that, you know, the reputation and the bias you might have. Are they always, I know your last 2 are females. They're not always females, Are they?
Yeah, I've only had one male Doberman when I was a kid, and the rest have been females.
Okay.
I just, I don't know. I tend to fond females a little. I like females a little better. They're in the Doberman breed. They match with me really well.
Right. And can you tell the difference? I mean, do male and females do have distinct personality traits you've found?
They do. Male's just a little more energetic and, pees on everything and wants to mark his territory a little more. Other than that, there's not too much of a difference.
Okay. And going back, tell me about, growing up with Dobermans. Is that as far as you can remember, or do you remember getting your first dog?
Yeah, my first dog was actually a border collie. I can't remember how old I was. I'd say I couldn't be much more than 6 or 7.
Mm-hmm.
And she literally would wrangle me and my brother. My brother and I are 15 months apart. He's 15 months younger than me. And anytime we would, get close to the street or go anywhere we're not supposed to be going, this collie would come and literally tug on us or grab our shirts and herd us back to the house.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. That's why you get a dog. That's amazing.
Yeah. And, we've had all kinds of dogs in our lifetime, obviously. My wife and I actually will foster dogs a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when that's the case, it doesn't matter what kind of dog it is or male or female or breed or anything. We're just trying to help it find a home.
Yeah.
So, in that sense, I've been around all kinds of dogs.
Yeah. Now, being a touring musician, has there been a time where you've had to pause owning a dog just because of your lifestyle?
No, actually, I've been fairly lucky. I didn't own a dog in the late 90s to the early 2000s because I had just moved out to Los Angeles and I was living out of an apartment, and then I got in the band in 98, and it wasn't until I'd say 2004 or 5ish that I actually got another dog, just because I was so busy and we were on the road 10 months out of the year at that time, trying to establish ourselves. So it wasn't a place for a dog. But when I did get a dog, I have a buddy that used to work with the Soul Assassin camp. And so that's the Cypress Hill guys and all that. And he was like a dog trainer, and he would help all kinds of dogs and things like that. And he helped me find my first Doberman, and that I had in Los Angeles. And he was always taking all kinds of dogs in and, repurposing them to different homes and things like that. And so he's like, I found this really, really great Doberman that you might actually really like. So I was like, yeah, let me see her. She was just a little puppy at the time. And I can remember she walked in the house. He brought her over, and she walked in the house, and she just acted like it was her house, came right up to me and licked me and ran all around the house. And I was like, this dog is amazing. And he's like, I knew this dog was for you. It's for you. And I know you're going to be on the road a lot. So when you are on the road, I'll keep the dog for you. I'll train her for you and everything like that. And so I was friends with him before that. But once that happened, we became really good friends, because every day I was calling him, hey, I went from the road. Hey, how's the dog? How's the pup? How is she? How's Ginger? So that worked out. That worked out great. And now cut to 2023, we're all a lot older, and we don't tour nearly as much as we used to tour. So, I'm married and the wife is at home. So if there's any issues or we both need to take vacations, I still call my buddy. He's like, yeah, I'll take her. I'll take her.
That's great.
So
Same
yeah,
same
such a
guy
good
after all
setup.
these years.
Same guy after all these years, and he's just a dog person. He's like, I can't really compare him to anything, but you've seen the Caesar Milan show back in
Yeah.
the day for sure. And you know
Yeah.
how he just has a way with dogs. Like the owners can't handle the dogs, but he comes in and instantly the dogs listen to him. And there's a lot, it's not just him, there's a lot of people like that. Well, this guy's one of them. So,
Okay.
so he's really good with dogs and he loves dogs. He's better with dogs than he is with people, I think.
Yeah, I know the type. So full disclosure, I gather information primarily by Instagram. So I looked through your Instagram, I looked through your wife's Instagram, which gave me some ideas, and I looked through your dog's Instagram. And it's funny that you mentioned the training. Your wife had said that, I believe it was Blossom, that she was actually sent away for, I think, more than a month to train. Is that with
Yeah.
this? Is that with the friend, or is that with a
Yep.
different? Okay.
Yep. Nope. Same friend. Yep. Yep. And my last Doberman, her name was Ginger, and he trained her for like 3 months while I was out on the road. And I came back, and she was at the age where she could have been trained. She was probably just about one, maybe
Hmm.
maybe 1.5, and she was a gem. I took her everywhere on tour. Like when we had shows, I'd just leave her run backstage, and she was going everywhere, and she was a perfect like band dog. This Blossom is more energetic and likes to get into things a little more.
Uh-huh.
So she's really friendly, but she's just leaving her roam the backstage I'm a little more worried about her.
Right.
But with that friend, what he did, he didn't as train her as much as he trained our last dog, but he socialized her. And he did it during COVID when we weren't out seeing a lot of dogs and things like that. And he has a lot of dogs. He lives on a little farm north of LA.
Okay.
So he has ponies, he has pigs, he has goats, he has all kinds of dogs. So she from an early age, she's been around all kinds of different animals. So she's really like curious about all kinds of things, and
Hmm.
not be scared to go up to any kind of animal, any kind of dog or anything. She's completely fine. I'm worried more about other dogs
Right.
than I am about her. Yeah.
Well, I noticed she has a photo with your cat. I mean, they're
Yep.
literally like next to each other, head to head.
Yeah.
I figured that was just a result of her growing up around. I think you had the cat longer than the dog at this
Yeah.
point, correct? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Our cat recently passed away. She was almost 20 years old.
Oh my gosh, I'm
And
sorry to hear
Jack,
that, but
oh, it's
that's
fine.
that's
And
that's a good cat life.
oh, it was great. It was great. And I don't know if you know Los Angeles at all, but when I got her, I lived in Topanga Canyon. So we were up in the mountains with the coyotes and all the hawks and all
Yeah.
the rattlesnakes and everything. And she just showed up at my door, and she had a little chip in her. And I said, "We'll take it to the vet, find out whose cat this was." And we couldn't find whose cat it was. And so obviously we got a cat. And when I came home, I was like, well, I don't, this cat is just roaming, and I would leave my doors open. It would just leave. And sometimes it would leave for a couple days at a time and come back. And few times I thought it was gone. She was gone.
Yeah.
And I think when she showed up at my house, she was almost 2. That's what the vet told me. And
Hmm.
so I kind of I didn't want to impede her style, and she came from outside, so I let her in, so she would be in and out all the time, anytime she wanted to go. And my last dog, Ginger, grew up with her her whole life, and
Whole
then
time.
Blossom lived with her for the last 2 years. And so she's really great with cats. Tenny and I just went to down south to San Diego for the weekend, and I left Blossom with my buddy Ted. And Ted has a cat and lives in an apartment. And I was like, okay, let's see how they get along. Great. And same thing. They were great together.
That's great.
Yeah.
Now, Blossom, I saw, was from Alabama. Is that correct? Or
Yeah.
your wife flew him from Alabama?
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
her.
Her. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Was that a rescue scenario, or just that's where the
No,
breeder
no,
was, or?
we got her from a breeder. This Tenny fell in love with my last Doberman. I had Ginger was my last Doberman.
Yeah.
I had her before I met my wife Tenny, my current wife
Okay.
Tenny, and my only wife Tenny, and she always had Italian Greyhounds. So she was all
Oh, that's
really,
interesting.
yeah, she was really like, oh, we need to get an Italian Greyhound. And I was like, hey, when you come out and see me, and you come out and see me, every time she was loving our old dog Ginger. Like, why she was like, wow, I didn't know Dobermans were like this. And they're really like 100-pound lap dogs,
Yeah.
100-pound lap dogs. They just want to cuddle you and be near you and be around you. And so she fell in love with Ginger. And it took us, I would say, like 4 or 5 years before we got another dog. In that time, we fostered dogs like almost constantly.
Yeah.
Uh, and then she was just looking around and she saw Blossom on a Doberman site, and she was like, this looks just like our, she looks like, her eyes and everything look just like our old dog. Can I go see if she's available? And I said, of course, like, of course. And my wife is a go-getter. She does not slack.
Yeah.
So when I tell you this, I'm not joking. 2 days later, she was on a plane to Alabama during the pandemic. And I was like, what? I thought she was crazy. I was like, what are you doing? And she came home with Blossom. So
Well, I give her credit because after you telling the story, looking at the Instagrams, I thought maybe the story was going to be it was her dog first, and then you joined the relationship because she
no,
does have a
no.
lot of pictures and a lot of
Yeah,
gushing posts. So,
yeah, yeah.
um,
Blossom is definitely her baby. So, like, she's never had a Doberman from a puppy stage on, and she is just, I've changed her from Italian Greyhounds to Dobermans.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, Speaking of Ginger, she did give a very heartfelt tribute to Ginger when she passed, called her Special Agent G. and
yeah,
and some of the things that describe Ginger were sweet, perfect, and that she softened everybody she met.
yeah.
She also said she had a happy, short, Dobie life. She didn't live she didn't live her full potential
No,
to.
yeah, she got diagnosed with lymphoma right around the time she turned 6. So, we did our best to keep her healthy and live a good life. And she made it almost a year after she got diagnosed, but she passed away right at 7 years old.
Okay, I'm
So
again. I'm sorry.
that
I'm
was
sorry to hear
tough.
that, and you hate it when it's
Yeah.
such a beautiful dog's life's cut short like that.
Yeah, that was a tough one for us, and I think that's one of the reasons why we took so long to actually get a dog of our own. We
Hmm.
we're dog people. We like I said, we foster all kinds of dogs. We help out dog organizations a lot, and we just didn't have one of our own because our last dog was really special. She was something special. So is Blossom.
Yeah.
I'm not talking bad about you.
Well, let's talk about a little bit about those, your charitable work. How did you first get involved? I guess, I saw you have a posted video of, I think, of a Hit Living Foundation charity event that you DJ'd at back in Venice.
Yep.
Is this something maybe you and your wife sought out, to do, and then once they, kind of they saw what you do, how you can contribute and stuff like that? Is that how it works,
Actually, the
or
Hit Living Foundation started up. One of my friends started it up, and so I've been involved with them since the
the get-go?
inception of them.
Oh, great.
And they are based out of Los Angeles, but they go to rescue dogs from anywhere. When
Yeah.
when Puerto Rico was all messed up, they went to Puerto Rico. When the Bahamas got, the hurricane that hit them, they went to the Bahamas. And they do all kinds of events in Los Angeles, and are growing, and every day, they get bigger and bigger, which is great because they're great people. And not only do they rescue, foster, adopt dogs, they themselves, there's a couple and they own like 8 dogs. So
Nice.
you go over to their house, it's just dogs everywhere. But yeah, and before that, my wife and I would just foster dogs, from China or Puerto Rico or Bahamas, or
Hmm.
help friends that were getting rid of dogs, help them find new homes. And I think we did a lot of that after Ginger passed away. And I think we were subconsciously kind of like looking for our next dog and kind of like breaking, ourselves in for another one. But at the same time, like we are dog people and we're cat people as well. But there's a lot of owners out there that don't take care of their dogs very well. There's
Yeah.
there's a lot of owners that just abuse their dogs or leave their dogs out in the street, and it's just not a good look. It's not a good look. So we're here to help as much as we can. We know a lot of dog people. We have a little platform. We don't
Hmm.
necessarily. I don't necessarily use the band as a platform for the dog things, but when I'm doing my own thing, and I'll do the DJ events to help bring more people in and things like that. And I just try to do what I can.
Yeah, that's great. And I noticed, to the point of the Fosters, you had a black lab you guys named Pablo Escobar.
Yeah, yeah,
I think you might have had a yellow lab. And it's
yeah.
funny that you're such Doberman focused. Were you ever tempted to keep any of these Fosters?
Yeah, absolutely. Pablo he got a little crazy. So that was kind of, we were like, okay, we had one of our friends really liked him and he was getting a little crazier for us in the house. So we were like, okay, Pablo, you're gone. And still to this day, my wife, she's like, man, I wish we kept Pablo. She still says that, I mean, because we could have multiple dogs. Right now we just have one. But and then Bennett, he was incredible. He was a three-legged dog. He was an amputee, so he only had one leg missing. And he lives a better life than I can guarantee you and I do right now.
I'm
we
happy to hear that. I didn't see him on anybody's feed.
Yeah, he had. I'll have to ask my wife what his feed is, but we paired him up with this really nice young lady, and she's blonde, and her last name is like Bennett, and she fell in love with him, and it just was like a match. So it was the transfer was really easy, and the next thing you know, we're seeing Instagram pics, and this dog's like swimming in the ocean in the Bahamas. Then he's on a private jet to Aspen, and then he's going to, like, I'm telling you, he's on paddle boards. He's living the best life.
That's great.
Yeah, yeah, and
You can only wish for that future for all the dogs you foster.
absolutely, absolutely. I remember looking at the Instagram and just saying, man, I wish I was doing all this stuff.
Now, I happen to have on Nick Hexum of 311, and he was mentioning back in the day he had a bus. He had a party bus, and he
Yeah,
mentioned that there was one particular tour with Incubus that he said every night there'd be a big party on his party bus, and he himself had his dogs running around. Were you part of that?
yeah, yes, I vaguely remember that. That would have been, well, so long ago. And if it was a party bus, I don't remember how many nights I can remember.
Exactly. He
But
just
yeah,
mentioned that yeah, he said the dogs were kind of the mascots and that
yeah,
his mini pinchers weren't really crazy about it and they'd end up going, hiding.
yeah, yeah. I actually do remember his min pins for sure. Yeah, yeah. And we were just on tour with Sublime last year, and they had a mascot dog on tour, and they had two of them. One of them would just roam around. This dog named Melvin.
Hmm.
He named it after the Melvins.
Perfect.
And he would just roam around, and on stage when Sublime was playing, he would just walk on stage, and they'd throw a ball into the front of the crowd, and he'd go up and somebody give him the ball, and he was just part of the show.
That's
and
awesome.
and I just remembered one time we were playing, and all of a sudden Melvin comes walking onto the stage. He comes walking on the stage, and he walks by our bass player Ben and walks by Brandon. I don't know if they saw him. And Mike's playing guitar on the stage left, and I'm sitting behind Mike, and I'm looking at this dog walk all across. I'm like, is he just gonna keep going? And he bumps Mike, and Mike just stops playing guitar, starts petting him, and plays guitar, starts petting him, and I was like, this is a great moment on stage. And then Melvin just, as casually as he walked on stage, just turned around and walked off stage.
Oh my God, I love it. And then in this day and age, it's got to exist somewhere on someone's video, you would think.
Oh, I'm sure it's on video somewhere. Yeah.
I'll have to do a search. That'd be great to see.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, after that, we were like, because our whole band has dogs, except for Mike. Mike's the only one that he's got a lot of cats. But after that, our bass player was like, "Do you mind if I bring my dog on this next run with us?" Like it kind of like introduced dogs
Yeah.
onto our tour bus again, I guess.
Yeah.
And Ben has a small dog. He's got an Italian Greyhound named Carl, and he's great. And then Brandon, after we did that run, then Brandon brought his dog on tours. Well, Brandon has two dogs, two awesome rescue dogs, and then he brought them on tour.
That's
so,
great.
so we started bringing dogs on tour. I haven't brought her on tour yet because when she sleeps, she takes a whole entire bunk up. She's not a small girl.
What are the benefits of bringing the dog on tour? I mean, is it nice mentally to have something that's a piece of home and that kind of gives you a responsibility to keep kind of a routine going, or?
I mean, mentally for sure. I mean, for I think for everybody, the dogs are therapeutic.
Yeah.
You know, they relax you, they put you in a calm state, they give you a kind of connection, like you can see here, where you
Nice.
can't even describe it. You can't
Yeah.
talk, but you're communicating all the time, you know?
Yeah.
So isn't that right, Blossom?
The way it's funny, the way she looks at you. I mean, she adores you. Look at that. It's so
Yeah,
funny.
yeah, yeah,
She's
yeah.
beautiful.
It's been raining here in Los Angeles the last couple of days, and I'm just starting to get her used to water, like being out in the rain.
Right.
You know how some dogs are. They won't go to the bathroom if it's raining.
Yeah.
She's just starting to now, but she's got a little extra energy because we haven't taken her out for a walk or done anything like that in the last 2 days. So today's a nice day. We'll get to that a little later today.
Well, that's good. Now we've spent this time kind of getting to know her. How would Blossom describe you?
Oh, I think that she would say that I'm her dad. She loves her dad. Uh, how would you describe me, Blossom? She's like, she's like, well, you give me food and you take me outside and you play ball with me all the time. You let me lick
You're
my ears.
you had a great video where you were trying to read for the Pause for Kids program,
Yeah,
and she came up and mauled you
yeah,
more or less.
yeah, yeah. My wife gets jealous when I come home because as soon as I come home, she's on me. And she's right on my hip. She wants to be near me, and I'd play a lot of ball with her a lot. I'd play ball with her more than I'd probably do anything with her. And
Hmm.
it, it it's really we have a little routine. We have two balls, and when I throw one, if I only have one, she won't ever give it back to me. And she just wants to play tug of war when I'm, getting it out of her mouth. So I take two balls. I'll throw one. We had this big hill. She can run down and try to find it. And then as soon as she gets back, she sees I have another one. So she instantly drops that one. So we constantly play this two ball game until she can't even, stand anymore.
Yeah, that's funny. It's funny how dogs, they seem like they would never give up on, if it's thrown, they got to go get it, no matter
Yeah.
how tired they are.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. And then we do that. Then we get some water. Then we lay down for a little bit. And then that's how she's calm, and then I can play some music and work on my stuff, and then when she gets her energy back, she's right like this again. And then
Hmm.
we go out and play ball, and I take a little break from what I'm doing. My studio is right leads right out to our backyard at my house, so it's perfect. So I spend a lot of time in there and just creating music, learning music, listening to music.
Yeah.
And she's a music dog for sure.
Does she tend to enjoy the music or stick around when you are creating?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah. She's like, if she's not like licking me like that or not something, I have a little couch in my studio. It's a little mini couch,
Hmm.
just enough for two people. She's just on that with her head up on the top, like looking over it, like looking at me. She's like,
Okay.
okay, it's
So
cool.
funny.
Yeah. Yeah, she loves music. We're doing some construction in our house. I don't know if you saw on the her Instagram. My wife bought her earmuffs
Oh no.
because we do some construction, so it's hammering, it's a little loud, and she wears them fine, and she wears kind of all kinds of outfits and clothes. My wife dresses her up in the craziest things, and she's totally fine with it.
She's a good girl.
Yeah.
Before I forget, I wanted to circle back to this whole thing of, like, the bias against Dobermans? Because I have spoken to a number of artists with pit bulls, and that's obvious. But do you have any episodes where you are walking down the street and somebody's going to either cross the street or admonish you for not having a leash short enough or long enough?
Yeah, all the time, all the
Really,
time. Yeah,
really.
when other dog owners, especially small dog owners, when they see us walking down the street, they pick their dog up or will walk across the street or anything. And even before Blossom sees them, because she's kind of aloof, she's like whatever. But when she does see them, she barks and she wants to go over and play with them. So she's playful barking, and she's a jumper, so she jumps up on all fours, like trying to get our attention. And so it's just a playful thing. There's nothing aggressive about it. But the people that don't know her are like, they freak out. They just
Yeah.
instantly think Doberman and I'm gonna get attacked.
Hmm.
And the ones that actually stick around and will have a conversation and see that, oh, the dogs are fine, their minds are changed, at least with her. They're like, oh, such a great dog, and that kind of stuff. And so it's like you just have to take the time to learn the dog. I think like the Doberman myth is like they're really aggressive and attack people and are
Yeah.
protection dogs, but they're only protection dogs if you train them to be that way. They're
Yeah.
they're highly intelligent dogs, so you can train them to be any way you want, or teach
Right.
them to. I don't know if train's the right word, but teach them to be however you want. And I think by just nature, they're just big, lovable lap dogs.
Yeah. Like most, like
Yeah,
that even goes back to a lot of the pit bulls that
yeah, yeah,
we know and speak to.
yeah.
Is she trained at all for protection?
No,
Does she have that element, or like, once, after midnight, don't come knocking.
no, no. She's the worst guard dog ever. She doesn't make a peep when somebody comes into the house unless it's unexpected.
Yeah.
And I think that if something would happen to my wife or I, like, she would be the first in the battle for it.
Mhm.
My last Doberman, I've only ever seen her really bark at somebody one time, and it was this guy was getting a little aggressive with me and had a lot of testosterone with me, and I had her around, and luckily there was a fence in between us because she just took off straight for this guy and right at this guy, and the guy was not a friendly guy, and he was coming onto our property, and our property was gated, and she just went right up to the gate. He backed off the gate, and her whole entire life, I only ever saw her do that one time. It was to that guy, and the guy had no good intentions.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing that she had the instincts too.
Yeah, yeah, like that. Like I said, we communicate with dogs on a higher level. It's a different level, and they're a lot of times they're more aware of how you feel, and if you're scared or if you're happy or if there's something wrong, way quicker than we are.
Yeah.
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 So
I
as dog people, you get to you know that you realize that, and you're like, there's something that we don't understand about them, that they are on a different level.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's great. I hear that time and time again. And that's why we gravitate to dogs. And you feel like they understand you. They understand you, from the inside out.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great way to put it. I definitely think that Blossom and I have this connection that is just, it's not like my old dog was. We had our own thing, and
Yeah.
we have our thing, and we definitely communicate. I talk to her all the time. One of the things that the guy I was telling you that trained our last dog told me is like, just talk to your dog like you would normally. Like if you're on a walk, just talk to him, and
Yeah.
so I've always been the guy that said, hey, we're going for a walk now. Hey, that's that house. This is this. Oh, look at that. That's a bird. Like I'm talking to her constantly. And so I think, in my mind, I think she's understands me, but she probably does. She doesn't understand the words, but
Yeah.
she knows I'm communicating with her.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I wrap up every show with what I call the zoomies, and that's just the last 5 questions.
Yeah.
So the first question, I think we have video evidence of, but the question is, do you kiss your dogs on the mouth? I know they
Yeah.
kiss you on the mouth.
They kiss me on the mouth for sure. Yeah. When hey, you want to give me a kiss? You want to show me how you get a kiss? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
She gives kisses.
Yeah.
That's what my wife taught her to do. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Question 2. This is shamelessly looking for name dropping, but given your profession, has Blossom licked anybody famous? Fellow musician, actor?
Famous. Yeah, well, she's licked the whole band.
Yeah, I
So
figured
there you
that.
go. You've licked we live on a street we kind of call it Rock Row. There's a bunch of musicians on our street. So
Nice.
she's licked a bunch of famous musicians. her her best friend is our neighbor's Frenchie. She
Oh,
really loves Frenchies for some reason.
yeah.
And I don't know why, but anytime she sees a Frenchie, she's just like, that's my guy, that's my girl. I gotta go play. So our neighbor lives up the street, and his name is Gilby Clark
Oh, yeah.
from player from Roses back in the day. Still
Yeah.
guitar player, does some things. So they're his dog and her are best friends. So she's licked him for sure a bunch of times.
Good. Good to know. Good to know. Question
Yeah.
3 is if you can give Blossom a theme song or walk up music or, entering
Oh,
the ring music, what would it be?
yeah. Oh, that's a good one.
Or is there a
I,
song that reminds you that was kind of popular when she came into your life, so it kind of brings you back to her?
no, but just top of my head, if she would walk in a room, I think they would play some "We Are the Champions." I don't know why I have that song in my head right now.
That'll work.
Yeah, that'll work, right?
Yeah, for sure. Question
Yeah.
4 is do you have a dog voice that you use to speak to her with, like a high pitched, a baby voice,
Oh,
a cartoon
it's
voice?
totally a high pitched voice. I'm sure if you saw that pause video,
Yes. Yes.
it's
Now,
like, oh, you want to try? You want to go here? You want to do this? Oh,
that's right.
yeah,
Now that you mention it, I was like, I felt like I knew the answer to that. And I was like, where did I hear that? Where would I have heard that
yeah,
before?
yeah. And
Do you,
I totally do not try that. It just comes out.
do you give her a voice, like personify her ever? Like
Yeah,
speak
and
for her?
it's always deeper. Yeah, it's like, oh, you want this, or oh, Blossom wants this, or
Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right. And last but not least, I think I might know the answer, but I always give a chance to, is there a dog organization, charity, groomer, trainer, anybody you want to shout out and just put a spotlight on and, thank them for what they do for dogs?
Yeah, I would definitely say the Hit Living Foundation.
Okay.
They do all kinds of wonderful things for dogs, and they deal with a lot of sick dogs. So
Hmm.
they're not just taking in your perfect dog; they're taking in the dogs that really need help, dogs that are on their last legs, and they find people to help them out, take them to the doctors, get them healthy, and live out the rest of their lives. You
That's
know
great.
how short it may be, or a lot of times they save dogs and they live
Yeah.
the rest of their lives super happy. So I would shout out the Hit Living Foundation for sure.
All right. All right. The great organization from what I know. I know I follow them on socials. So yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Well, given summer's right around the corner, do you have anything to promote? Any plans for the summer and beyond?
Yeah. We are touring most of the year here. We're gonna tour Europe in June, and then we're gonna come home and tour the States in July.
Oh, fantastic. Well,
Yeah, so it's gonna be a busy year for us.
excellent. We'll keep an eye out for you. Hopefully, you'll swing by my neck of the woods. Well, DJ Kilmore, thank you so much for taking the time. I was so honored that you finally. I know I was working with your manager to find a time, so I'm glad we got to hook up. And I love your enthusiasm for your dogs, and you're the perfect guest for what I look for the show. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you as well. And dogs are our best friends.
Yeah, I agree. We're here.
Yeah.
All right, take care and
Okay.
goodbye, Blossom.
Okay, say bye, boss. Come here. Say goodbye. Say goodbye.
Speak. She's
She doesn't
beautiful.
know that one yet.
Maybe a good thing.
All right. I'll see you later, buddy.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
All right. An oversized thank you to DJ Kilmore of Incubus for coming on the show and sharing his experience with Blossom and Ginger. The dog do-gooders DJ Kilmore gave a shout out to is the Hit Living Foundation. HIT is an acronym for the three main pillars of their mission: honesty, integrity, and trust, to which they apply to their animal welfare efforts that focus on dog rescue, rehabilitation and rehoming, domestic and international community outreach, and animal welfare education. To adopt, foster, volunteer, or donate, go to hitlivingfoundation.org. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate everyone who's helping us spread the word and grow. To keep up with all our guests and their dogs, please go to our Instagram page at Rocker Dog Podcast. We'll be back next week with another new episode featuring a comedian with face-melting guitar skills. So tune in to see how that conversation plays out. All right, this episode is now a thing of the past. So long, everybody.